You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I've seen BYU ranked higher in some of these polls, but I think what you're talking about is they've taken all these things and averaged them out, and you come out higher and tops in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think Brett McMurphy had that, and it was like 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah, I think you're exactly right. And this was like 10 different outlets, I think, that were combined that had put out The Athletic and On3 and Yahoo and all the different ESPN and everything. It's interesting too, because last year maybe it was a more of an unknown, and so you weren't getting any benefit of the doubt, and you could some will argue, some will, that you're maybe getting too much now. I don't know where it lies, but you definitely deserve a healthy tip of the cap. And I've heard, and I don't necessarily disagree with this. Like, man, they're just not going to be anywhere near as good defensively. That was a once in a lifetime type group. Well, I mean, it was phenomenal, and we all agree there. I don't know if you will be as good on defense, right? I think that's fair. But could you be better on offense? And then we're just talking about your team, and you look at it on paper, and there won't be really many questions or weaknesses, and in some cases you'll be stronger in some aspects this coming year than you were last year, i.e. your backfield, maybe your offensive line, quarterback, tight end could end up being better. I don't know. I think the concern, though, is that the front seven on defense. What does that look like? But we'll see. What that the problem that you're going to get into, though, is that you don't. BYU is the other team that I think a lot of people are going to say they should be favored to win the Big 12. They have so many starters back. They retained a ton of their roster. You don't play them, so they're kind of off the radar for me for next year. You don't have to worry about them until it would be a potential rematch in Arlington. They, though, have a non-conference game against Notre Dame, and you don't really have anything like that. And people are making fun of Tech's schedule. It is not, and we'll see what it ends up looking like as we go through it. We did this exercise 2 years ago where we thought one thing, and it turned out to be a completely different thing.
Did it this year with Houston. That win was like, okay, cool. But then it winds up over, what, a 10-win team, I guess.
Yeah, and that could be, on paper, that's going to be one of your toughest games, because that is one of the few teams that could be ranked in the preseason that is on your schedule. Arizona maybe, but BYU is not. Utah is not. These are the other two teams that could potentially be ranked in the preseason top 25, and I think in the aggregate, but they're not on your schedule. So, yeah, we've got plenty of time to try to figure all that out and figure out who may be better than we originally thought, or worse than we originally thought. But I just know this: you have zero control over it. When you schedule a lot of these non-conference games, it was years ago, and there you go. But I do love the benefit of the doubt. I think it's kind of a fascinating world we're living in right now, and it's a new world. But I think a lot of it, I think you earned a lot of respect last year. And dare I say that it could continue to prove that you get the benefit of the doubt if push comes to shove, depending on what it looks like with you and all that. I'm not so certain that it won't down the stretch. But again, just because you're say ranked 7th in the preseason, it doesn't guarantee you anything. I mean, we knew where you were last year, and you ended up being a top 4 seed with a bye, but you hammered everybody. So we'll just kind of see what this version of Texas Tech will end up looking like. But it's interesting to see, months and months and months out, like, hey, there's some serious expectation and some serious thought that they should be right back in the mix.
Yeah, and maybe even with a higher ceiling than what they thought a season ago, which is I struggle to even get that out of my mouth right now, but I'm willing to be persuaded. I'm willing to be persuaded. There's no doubt. And there's no question, Chris, once again, the Big 12 Conference will have a razor-thin margin for error, like you were just alluding to, the opposite way from a basketball perspective. From a football perspective, you need to be walking that high wire. You need to be punishing folks like Texas Tech was doing, whoever is going to be that conference champion. And we did see, I guess, at least to some degree, maneuvering in the right direction. We're going to be sticking at 12 teams, but spots for each Power 4 conference champion, we know, Chris, and of course, Notre Dame. And I'm sure they'll even get maybe a bigger plane to fly to the game, whatever, extra cinnamon rolls at breakfast if they're in the top 12. This is so no-brainer territory. Classic college football leadership to wait a century plus to first say, we got 5 conferences, boys. What should we do? 4 teams. 4. Are you sure? Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, then we get past that buffoonery. Okay. What should we do? We should possibly allow, just by virtue of a lesser schedule, a shinier record to get in over a major conference champion. Are you serious? Yes. All right. Let's try it out. And now we've moved on from that buffoonery, Chris. So this is just common sense, but I'm going to go ahead and say, thankfully, we are here. These conference champions will be in the play.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Yeah, because the change you're talking about, people, I think some are reading it and consuming this like this is new. This was decided a year or two ago. Now, it would have changed this past year. I guess Duke would have made it in. Okay, Duke would have been in, and I don't know the whole Miami thing, but Duke would have made it in. But yeah, the whole Notre Dame thing, it wears me out, and it's actually caused some programs, like I think USC's kind of played this card a little bit. Like, why do we want to schedule these guys and help them out? Everybody criticized USC and for backing away from the deal, but they're like, we don't need to have that anymore. Now, the sport probably benefits. I would sit there and watch it if it was on. But that's where, BYU stepped in and it is going to end up having a home and home with them. But I think a lot of schools are basically saying, I don't know if we want to help them out and widen the plate a little bit, because it could cost us or our league a bid, and things like that. So it's
4 service academies and the dregs of the ACC. That's what they should play every year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I got to tell you, though, watching the national championship game and seeing Indiana, just from a brand standpoint, and then Miami, a team who was waiting with bated breath to even find out if they got a chance to compete. As a fan, I'm loving it. And I'm just thinking, man, where has this type of thing always been with this postseason? It's been non-existent, because typically there's a boardroom or there are voters or whatever. Like, all right, well, here's the teams with zeros in the loss column or 1, and they're in the big conferences, so let's go with these guys. And I know that Indiana would have fit that bill either way. They weren't going to be left out of anything. But, Chris, that's the type of
man.
natty we got that we wouldn't have gotten another era, and I'm a fan of it as a fan of Texas Tech specifically.
Yeah, it's a new world, and I think that it's bothered some. It's bothered the old guard. I think it's great for the sport. But again, you have to understand your place in it in the new world. And I think we all are understanding that you may be very much in a one-bid league if you're not careful. So you just don't have much margin for error at all. That's just the reality of it. I hate it. I don't know if a non-conference game for you versus Notre Dame, would allow you to get in whether you won it or lost it. Not that you're about to play any game like that or scheduled game like that. I don't know, but you just are in a league where you better win it, or you're going to be sitting there on that one Sunday morning when they start putting the bracket up, kind of puckered up a little bit.
Here's the cool thing, though, Chris. I bet if you talk to Coach McGuire today, that would be his plan.
I agree.
To win them all, baby.
Yep, I agree. And I think he would probably say, now I don't know what the circumstances will end up being, right? Every season's different, injuries and margin of victory, and there's so many different dynamics. Who else is in the mix for the at-large pool? But I'm not so sure that he wouldn't say, that's fine with me. I mean, if we win it, we deserve to be in. Obviously, if you don't, you don't deserve to be in it. And I think he'd probably take that as well. On
It's
that.
kind of like putting the game in the hands of the officials at the end of it.
There you go. That's right. That's why Kelvin Sampson said the other day, I'm not going to sit up here and talk about a bad whistle when we got our ass kicked on the offensive glass. We can control that. And see, that's why I respect Kelvin Sampson.
If you put yourself in that position to be on the bubble, on the line, on the whatever, then you kind of get what you get, and you don't throw a fit unless you're Notre Dame, and then you throw one of the biggest fits in the history.
Or like Marcus Freeman, I don't know if you see that video, he like threw his remote controller. Yeah.
Sure did.
Just chunked it.
A glorious and admirable showing for them in every way.
And he was like, guys, I just wish I knew how to make this make sense. Beat Miami.
Win.
Beat Texas A&M.
Lost.
What are you talking about? Like, I mean, one of those games was at home. Like, what do you mean you can't make sense of it? Win your games.
I've always imagined like Jack Swarbrick has the Phil Jackson chair in these meetings. Remember how Phil's chair was like 3 feet taller than everybody else's on the
yes.
I always thought Swarbrick would have that, but that's not enough. I say we all get them the big hats, like the man in Rome. Let's all get them the big hats, and maybe they'd feel better. Look, we want you there, boys. All right, just tell us what we need to do. Chris, appreciate your time as always, my man. Enjoyed the conversation. Want you there for the next one. We're going to dive back into some of what we discussed today. Checking in from a hoop standpoint, I do want to talk defense with you because we know that that's one thing that has been a priority, getting that together as we're rolling into this point in the season. A little bit of a chance to catch our breath as we await a trip to Orlando. So we'll get to that and much more coming up this week. Looking forward to it, man. We'll see you then.
Yeah, and you mentioned cinnamon rolls a while ago. That is one of the greatest concoctions in the entire world. Is a really good cinnamon roll. I mean, like chef's kiss right there to the cinnamon roll mentioned earlier. And isn't it wild? This whole episode was just about poll watching and everything. Isn't it wild how many of these programs of yours are ranked in these top 25s? Whereas there was times in years past, man, where it stuck out like a sore thumb, and you just weren't close. You weren't, what would it take if we win this game? But I mean, your women's program has been ranked in the top 25 basketball wise. Softball is ranked preseason number 1. We're talking about basketball, talking about football. Obviously this upcoming year, we know what Wes Kitley's groups do. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It seems like we've caught the poll fever. And I like it. I don't want any medicine for it. So just keep, I'll stay sick and I'll stay at home eating cinnamon rolls. How about that?
I've still tested negative for that fever at last report, but I'll keep checking. I'm glad you brought that up because Texas Tech is one of only 8 athletics departments in the nation to have a top 25 men's and women's basketball team on campus, and the only in the Big 12 conference. So yeah, it's a golden era, trying to keep the kids humble if they're new to this thing like mine are. So doing my best, but you better enjoy it. Savor this flavor because we know it ain't always going to be like this, but right now it is. And man, it's a lot of fun. So thanks to those who are riding along with us and enjoying it all the while. Appreciate the everydayers for always being out there, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.